They Crawl Beneath. First of all, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Thank you.
How did you come to direct this project?
I work with Suzanne De Laurentiis for many years. I've worked with her. We've been producing partners, coming up with crazy and fun movie ideas. Um, I enjoy horror and suspense thriller. I like all stories, a lot of drama, even comedy. I like anything as long as it has a good story. And any of that as a director, I'm just into storytelling. But we both tend to lean more towards the suspense thriller horror, which she definitely is one of her loves, you know? So we connected years ago and we've been producing projects, and she came up with this one movie idea. We had done the last movie before that was a little Christmas movie. We were moving into COVID. She said, is there any way that we can make a small movie? She saw a film called Buried with Ryan Reynolds in it. I don't know if you've seen that. He's trapped claustrophobically in a box. She loved the simplicity of that and wanted to kind of do something in a single location, low budget, yet go into something more horror. And a couple of films before that, we did this film called Derailed, and it was a creature feature. And we just loved the elements of that. And, I personally did too. So we decided to make it a little horror movie, a creature feature movie. And we began our development process. And then we joined forces with Kevin Getz and Neil Getz and Steve Horniak. And we just kind of put together the story about a young man who gets trapped in his garage after a big earthquake and has a claustrophobic moment there and cannot get out or escape. And then through the cracks and fissures of the earthquake, these creatures, no spoiler, but that's what it's about, start to come out and, torment or, challenge his life and his existence. So he fights to live. And that's really the story. And that's how it all started. Suzanne comes up with these crazy ideas and pitches them to me. And I think of ways to kind of pull it together within a budget. And if it could be done, we go for it. And so that's how that all happened.
Nice. Um, I do have to say, when I was watching this, that it reminded me of Tremors just so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Was that what you were going for?
Yeah. I mean, there's no question that there's influences of Tremors and say Slither and other, creature movies like that. We knew, which was a good thing. We wanted the fans of that genre or those films to, take a peek at this, because that's where we came from. We love those movies, so let's keep something small. I mean, Tremors is about these aliens, right? These huge, monstrous creatures, and ours is just different. But we wanted to kind of take some of those ideas and do it our way within our budget, and just tell this a little simpler story, and do that. But for sure, yeah, it is. It has those elements in it. Even, I mean, when you start going in that world, my original concept and vision for the creatures were actually entirely different than what ended up being produced. But this is what we could do in the short amount of time. And the creature designer Dan Rebert, we're so lucky to have him jump on board and produce these creatures for us. And he was amazing. And yeah, we were just so pleased with it. And all of the effects there with the creatures and whatnot are all practical effects, which is the one thing I said, if we're going to do this film, I don't want CG creatures. I want it to be practical for a number of reasons. My love of practical effects. We knew it was going to be hard, but if we get somebody good, it'd be worth it. And that's what we did. I think there's only one shot with a creature or whatnot that ends up being, let's just say a digital effect. All the rest of it is all practical. And even that shot was just really digitally manipulating a practical effect. So it was all, it was a lot of fun in that way.
That's awesome. I think I know which part you're talking about that had to be digital. Um,
Uh-huh.
but I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay. Was it in the beginning, middle, or end?
In the end.
That's actually practical.
Really?
It was a practical merged with, some compositing or whatnot. But yeah, that was all practical. Yeah, it was crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so those were hand puppeteered. I hope I'm not spoiling it with anybody for anyone, but hopefully people watch the film before they see this. But those are hand puppets. They were and then created and shot so that we can communicate different scales and sizes and things like that. But these were not supposed to be these huge, you know, building size creatures. No, it wasn't that. These are a little smaller, but a lot bigger than you really want them to be. So yeah.
Did you keep any of those puppets?
No. Oh Lord, I wish I could, but our deal was so limited that our the deal is that the creator gets to keep them.
Ah,
So he makes them, we use them, and essentially we're almost just licensing them. He creates them for our show, and he loves doing that, and use them for this amount of time, however we want to use them. And he was incredibly inventive as well, and we did as much as we could. Um, but time and limitations, so I just had to choose what those moments were going to be. And there's a great moment for me in the car. It was just that was something that wasn't originally written or conceived in the script, but I saw this moment. I said we got to write that in, and you know um let's get this wrestling going on. If you can remember, there's a few moments, and some people may think the ending may be somewhat over the top, but this idea of you've used and exhausted every weapon, you know that you could, and all it is um just man to man or man to creature or what, that's all you have left. And hopefully, you know you find out what happens in the end, when that turns. So that's what we were going for. And some people love that idea, and they said that's the only way. It's creature to creature, this organic, one on one, and that's all you could do, if you know what I mean. So and then some are like, that's totally cheesy and over the top. But I mean, we did alternate versions, and that one just stuck. It just felt right. Yeah, it's over the top, but this is a fun creature movie, so let's just go for it. you know
I like it. I'm
Thank you.
definitely a fan of how it ended, so it's good.
Thanks.
It's great. Um, so in working with Joseph, what kind of made him the perfect final guy for this movie?
Well, we had worked with him on a couple of other projects, but just so little. He was, he'd worked on a couple of other films himself, some features, and carried those. Um, I knew of him through Suzanne, in town, and we worked on some small, fun little projects. And then he cameoed. Well, I mean, he just did a day with us for that Christmas movie, and I said, "Man, you're so fun to work with." And he was also, as little as that part was, he wasn't dismissive. I mean, he was fully in, so supportive. There was something about his energy, something, because there's a lot of people that are um skilled, good actors, all of that stuff. So it was actually kind of tough, but we knew that he was our guy when we read him, obviously, and we had him in mind as well as a few other people. But when he came in and we did it, I mean, it was him, and we loved his look, you know, and his attitude too is what really sealed the deal. He's talented, good looking, all that kind of stuff. But there's something vulnerable and soft about him, and still he can come off as tough and I mean strong enough to do what he needs to do in the film. We didn't want some really hefty, big badass guy that you probably would know what's going to happen. So but yeah, he just checked all those boxes for us, and as well as being a wonderful actor and like the best attitude. I mean, it's just, I can't say enough about that guy. Love him, love him, love him.
That's awesome.
And I hope that answers it, I mean, because it is more than talent in this town. Yeah, my producer Suzanne always says, when you get on a job or to get a job, the first thing you want to do is not be an a-hole. Yeah, there's some people that, you know, that's just their nature. And you got to work with them, and that's cool. But when you're kind of starting out and you're trying to make your mark and you want to broaden your job perspectives and your connections and everything, you want it to go well. And this guy, he's incredibly talented. He's a producer in his own right, producing his own projects and things like that. And so that's how he got the role. Finding um, the girlfriend was a lot harder. That was just,
Really?
that was a lot more challenging.
Why was it so challenging?
Well, I mean, we were working through COVID. So that was definitely one of the first challenges. To kind of casting process is always different. You're not meeting in person, and to find the contacts. And I think also scheduling, and it's a low budget. It's also non-union. There's a lot of those things,
Mm.
and we saw a lot of people for it. And just went back and forth. So and then you do like those chemistry tests and things like that, just to see how it could work. But we finally landed on Carly, and when she came into our lives, we went, whoa. Yeah, literally, I think it was maybe 3 or 4 days before. I mean, she nailed it. I mean, we knew who she was, but we were just scrambling to it had to be right. We lost the other actor. We weren't sure what was going to happen here. And it was just like we were scrambling. And then she kind of came to us, and we took a look at her, and we thought, wow, she's gorgeous. And she's got some skills too. I mean, she's really wonderful, um, and um, and then she booked it. It was really great working with those two. They had a really beautiful connection, working together, which is always nice. And they were, I think a lot of it is Joseph, because he's just a ham. He's so funny. And having Carly, she's actually so bright and just rolls with everything too. And she's a pretty strong woman, and it was just great to put them together. It was really great. I thought it was really well done.
I love it. I just watching those two interact was just wonderful because they went from the beginning to like the end of the film, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah. It's and that character is a little, it's a little tough of a role, because I was always careful not to. I mean, I didn't want that character to be so um you know, shrillish or controlling and manipulative. That's not what we were going for. We were looking for a character who genuinely cared for someone's life and well-being, because they love them that much, yet they were stressed, and that's life, and we're hoping that that's somewhat somehow relatable to people. And sometimes you just got to move on, but then sometimes there's just connections that keep you there. And I mean, those are just those human elements and nuances in the characters that I really love, and there was so much more. A lot of it gets cut because of time, but when they were in their interactions together in those scenes in bed or whatnot, it was just a blast. I think we have a little outtakes reel someplace, a bloopers thing, and maybe one day that'll get out there, that I assembled, and it was just so great to see them working together. And yeah, this is weird. I hope I'm not taking too much time, but they're like, when they were we shot the end of the movie the very first day, which was incredibly difficult. And probably, yeah, it yeah, in retrospect, it probably wasn't the best thing that we could have done. However, it's what we had to do. All right. But having said that, so we did that first day. They didn't know each other. Obviously, they knew each other, but there's something that happens. Even the mother, everything just, and then we shot it. We cut the film together, and we said, I don't know, something. And then my producer, Kevin, and everyone really said he had the insight to say, you know what, I think we should reshoot that. I said, whoa, are you serious? Because I would love that. I didn't want to be selfish and say, oh, it's not working. I mean, this is a low budget world we're in. But Kevin had the guts to go, let's just do it. Let's see what we can get. And so we shot that, much later, at the very end. And I think it made such a difference, that just to see that connection between them all. There's just something, I don't know, I can't explain it. And it's beautiful, that comfort that, you sit with somebody and I don't know, it just, when you sit down and I mean, there's always those stories of people that hate each other, and there's that sexual chemistry and it, for whatever reason, it worked. But in this case, it was not that. It was more of a caring and a natural connection. And that by that time, they had gone through so much blood, so many late nights together. It's just when we sit down and look at each other, we can just talk and be with each other, and just that connection, I think, and I hope that communicates through the characters in the film, that's captured. So without saying anything, you just feel that, So I think it was worth it. And it was much more beautiful. It was the hospital scene, that scene. That was reshot at the end.
Oh, it was. So I am glad that you reshot it because I can't imagine it any other way now.
Yeah, yeah. Me too. Me too. All of us do. We're just like, oh, it was a gamble. But it was something that I think was well worth that investment, if you will. And I think there's no doubt that Kevin, being a big, powerful producer for him, just saw the value in making this a little story. We've gone through all of this. We've invested all this time. Let's make it as strong as we can, and because these stories will just, they're going to live on when we're gone. So let's just do the best we can. And I think we could swing it, and we did it. So there you go.
Nice.
That's just one of maybe half a dozen other incidents where we had to, fix things. And this is the low budget world, man. It's you just gotta roll with it.
For sure. For sure. Um, all right. I think we're almost out of time, but
Okay.
my final question is just for people that want to stay up to date with the film, up to date with you and your projects. Are you on social media? Where can we connect with you?
The only place I am really is Instagram. And that's my first and last name, Dale Fabrigar. So I'm on Instagram. I kind of got to the social media game kind of late, actually, but I'm there. You can see my stuff, and I don't really promo too much of my work. But then when They Crawl Beneath gets out, I'm sure there's going to be a web page and Instagram. There's going to be some social media coming out and supporting the film once that breaks, and which is going to be very soon, right? So, did you watch it streaming? Did you watch it on a DVD or something like that, or did you get a
Um,
look at it?
I got a link for it.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope. Yeah, I'm not on Facebook often, and that's all I got. I got a web page as well, but there's not a lot of new work there that talks about my projects. So yeah, Instagram's the only place you can see, and that is more of a place where you can kind of get to know me more instead of the projects. It's just a photograph, a way that I see the world here and there, and I don't know how interesting it is, but there it is, and that's where I'm at.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me. Again,
Pleasure.
to the movie.
Thank you so much. All right. Thanks, Beth.
Bye.
All right.